The ego is the system that runs your sense of self. It is made out of thought patterns, emotions, and behavioral loops, and the stories that try to hold it all together. Left unchecked, it creates endless existential searching, chronic disconnection, and the persistent sense that something is wrong. The goal of my videos is clarity, to see your identity and its contradictions for what they are, named precisely, to finally understand what it is that we're all running away from. If you truly want to know the most foundational layer of reality so that you can be absolutely certain that you're living in foundational baseline reality and not in some sort of delusion, it is very useful to question the own questioning process. Because skepticism is one of the main ways the ego keeps itself locked in its own reality mode. You lock yourself in your own reality mode through never actually letting a new idea getting to you. Because when it's outside of your framework, you're already rejected as something that is false, like it needs to be false. If you're in a materialist paradigm and you hear something from idealism, meaning that reality is not made of material reality, but about some phenomena or ultimate consciousness, then you will automatically reject that. But it also works the other way around. If you're a strong idealist and you hear something that the materialist said, then it's very easy to just reject the entire framework instead of listening to what is the truth that is actually being talked about. You can see the same dilemma happening in politics all the time. People are only looking at what side of the political aisle you're on, and if you don't are on their side, you're not worth listening to. This is how we use language. Instead of seeing words to expand our horizons, we put things in boxes through these words. So you can notice that when you name an object, you immediately stop looking at it. It replaces the curiosity that you have for that object with a static mental file. As the most simple example, the way you can test that is just to look at any object in your environment and then look at it fully and then label it. And depending on how good you are at meditation, you might be able to hold both models. You might be able to say sky and at the same time experience the sky exactly for what the sky is. But usually, most people start to notice that when they think the word sky, they are already conceptualizing the sky into something that it is not actually. Another grounding example would be a tree. Like a tree is something very complex. There are so many components to what a tree makes, and there are a lot of different types of trees. But conceptually, when I tell you a tree, you have a very basic idea of what I'm talking about. But the basic idea is useful for information transmission, but not to actually come in contact with reality if you stay stuck in this file. Think about how different it is to see a color and to name a color. There's no way they are even remotely similar. If I tell you green, then you can imagine what green is in some loose sense. I personally have aphantasia, so I cannot even visualize colors. But if you can visualize colors, then you maybe get close to it. If always when you say the word green, you envision the phenomenology of it. But for most people, that's not the case. So in our modern society, we struggle a lot because the algorithms have fed us certain narratives around certain words. And now they basically trigger our own egoic defenses so automatically that we don't notice how we have shaped our identity in like all of these different ideologies and belief systems and cultural movements. And we are always attached to them in a way that, makes you forget what your true identity really is and what true knowledge really means. Because now it's never really about true knowledge. It's about your own identity being threatened. And it's so clear because, there are correct and wrong opinions in some real sense. Like if I say that the earth is flat, then it is wrong. The earth is not flat. The earth is a sphere. Now, how can I truly know this? Have I verified the spherical nature of the earth myself personally? So there are a lot of logical systems that corroborate why the earth is not flat and instead a sphere. Like our entire physical understanding of the nature of reality would break down, like our understanding of gravity itself as just one point. And if you're really interested in this, you go and seek it out. But for somebody who here's the word, the earth is, here's the sentence, the earth is a sphere, and believes in the flat earth theory, well then this word is a signal for my identity. It's not about the truth statement. The guy would just hear, oh, he is a non-flat earther, or whatever they call outsiders from their group. So you immediately think about, oh, this is this type of person, and then you brush them aside. But I'm using this flat earth example because it's something that most people can agree is stupid, but you're doing this all the time yourself with other things, most likely too. And a part of the deconstruction process of the ego and the movement towards knowledge is to notice when you're doing this yourself, when your instinct is to box something into a category and not actually listen to the other side and try to understand what their experiences are really talking about. I can give you an example that is maybe more esoteric, but it makes it grounds what I'm saying here into something quite reasonable. And it's, for example, astrology. I think astrology is stupid. I don't think it works. I think it feeds on your egoic narratives. It makes you hear what you want to hear, and it biases just certain structures. Now, somebody might come to me and talk about weird coincidences that they found in astrology. And despite me not believing in astrology, I'm going to listen to him completely agnostic and just recognizing it as a point of data without having any stakes to defend or argue for. I can if I wanted to, but there's no personal stakes for me in it. I just care about the truth, like that what being said is truthful. And there might be some weird correlation between the year of the month that you've been born in and certain archetypes that you might fall into. I don't think this is that far-fetched. Or people believing that the full moon has weird effects on people when they sleep, for example, also very common. People have seen this many times. Is this a confirmation bias, or is this actually true? I tend to believe it's confirmation bias, but who knows? Maybe there is something about the way gravity works that changes some people's biological rhythm, and maybe it's just for a certain group of people with a certain genetical overlay, right? Like there are so many nuances to a thing that dismissing an idea is very dangerous. And if you catch yourself dismissing something immediately, then take a step back and wonder why you felt the need to just dismiss something this way. You can notice that you have a lot of internal monologues running on in your head, and they narrate everything that happens in your life in real time. And what they're using is your pre-existing narratives. And this might also give you the feel that you're stuck in your life because you're not moving to somewhere new. You're just basically loading the same program that has been running in your mind unconsciously all the time. And it requires you to kind of wake up in the way you react towards things, or the way you react towards things even in your mind, how you tend to label things even for yourself, especially if it's, for example, self-deprecating language that you're falling into, or a certain nihilistic worldview that you have, where you immediately jump towards something. This means that you have an identity that is basically stuck in this sort of loop, which doesn't need to be bad. If you enjoy the state of being and you are sensing you're moving towards something, then more power to you. But if you notice it is an automatic behavior that you are not aware of, then reflecting about how you came to this place and why you are here is extremely valuable. I guide people through this in my one-on-one ego architecture audits, and you can check more information about this process in the description below. Exploring how your sense of self is a collection of definitions and labels is a huge part of this deconstructing process. And in these analytical audience that I do with people, I basically challenge them. I challenge belief systems, I challenge ideas, and I try to be as unbiased as humanly possible because I don't really have any stakes in the matter except to help people heal their own identity wounds. Shared language creates a consensus reality, and this consensus reality prioritizes social cohesion over the pursuit of objective truth. So people are inclined to be nice, especially in spiritual circles or where people are very personally invested in the nature of reality or some sort of ontology. It is common to either have people who are extremely debative and just argue against everything you say because they just want to deconstruct what you say and assert their dominance over their own framework. Or you have people who are just always very agnostic and they can say, I don't know to everything. And everything is this like soft you do you, everything is accepting, everything is nice. And I also can play both of these roles. In my perception, everything is extremely non-dual, and both of them have their uses. But at the end of the day, I do find it's very important too to be able to challenge another person and to be able to define things and then debate and see where something leads you if both people act in good faith. And the reason this works is because words are not meaningless. They do point to an architecture within your own brain and an architecture within the brain of the person that you're talking to. That's why there is a general use in conversation and in also the practice of radical inquiry and wondering why are you using the words that you use, because it's often common for people to just, especially in personal conversation, dismiss their own use of language, dismiss why a certain word dropped. But in German there is this word Freudscher Versprecher. I don't know how it is in other languages, but it's from the idea that it's from Freud's idea that you have basic ideas in your unconscious, and if you misspeak, and this misspeak happens kind of accidentally in a way that seems to hint at the opposite of what you wanted to say, then you can say that this is a Freudscher Versprecher, because what you actually did end up saying is what was in your unconscious. This is what happens when you kind of by accident reveal your inner deeper psychological process, which you need to be careful with this stuff, right? You might just actually have misspoken, but only you can tell, really. Nobody else can truly know if you just lied or misspoke, or if this is generally something unconscious. But these cognitive glitches are very useful to notice even for yourself. When you think certain thoughts where you wonder, why did I think this just now? What was the point of this? What am I trying to communicate to myself or protect myself from or hinting myself at? This is why the most profound experiences that we humans have emotionally, like awe and grief and ecstasy, consistently go beyond language. We can use words like love to point to something, but it is a perversion to pretend that the use of the word ecstasy has anything to do with the real experience of ecstasy itself. This is why words are always an imitation of reality and not the same as reality, even though they are pointing to actual truth. Now, this entire intellectual process that we have been doing in this video is really just there to exhaust your mind from thinking. It's there to exhaust your mind from believing that it can find the theory of everything just by speaking out loud. It can reveal you deeper layers of your psyche. It can reveal contradictions that you're holding in your psyche. And by revealing this, by revealing the contradiction that you hold, you can dissolve them. And by the process of dissolution, you will actually reach towards something deeper in your own awareness, where your sense of consciousness becomes heightened and your sense of emotionality and physicality becomes increased. Because suddenly you stop using language as a barrier to protect yourself from the world, and you use it merely as a tool to describe your own immediate experience. You don't use language anymore to doubt what is already clearly in front of you. If you see the color blue, you just name it color blue. And if you have a certain name, you just call yourself by that certain name. There's no mystery to solve anymore, because the immediacy of experience makes what's actually happening quite obvious. Looking under the hood is where the fun of science starts. Cognitive dissonance is really the main thing that blocks people's awakening. You want to understand where are you actually being dissonant in your own architecture, not because you're wrong about a certain thing, but because you're conflicted about it and don't know how to square contradictive beliefs or two things that seem to fight each other in the mind. And to understand how relieving these contradictions leads you to a sense of awakening and higher sense of consciousness is something I explain in this video right here.